The revelation. The grand chamber of the Galactic Council stretched into infinity, its crystalline walls reflecting the light from 1,000 star systems. Representatives from over 300 civilizations had gathered for what promised to be a routine session. That assumption shattered the moment humanity's delegation entered with news of their latest achievement. Ambassador Sarah Chen stood at the center of the chamber, her posture radiating quiet confidence that made several alien delegates shift uncomfortably in their seats. Behind her, a holographic projection materialized, revealing a vessel that defied conventional understanding of spacecraft design. Esteemed members of the Galactic Council, Chen began, her voice steady and clear. I present to you humanity's latest contribution to interstellar peacekeeping, the Sovereign. The reaction was immediate and visceral. The Krithak delegation's scales shifted to a deep crimson, signaling their distress. The ethereal luminary representatives dimmed their natural bioluminescence, a sign of profound concern. Even the typically stoic Zephyrians couldn't hide their astonishment, their crystalline forms vibrating at frequencies that translated to shock. The hologram rotated slowly, revealing every angle of the warship. Unlike the organic curves favored by the Sylphani or the geometric precision of mechanist vessels, the Sovereign appeared to be carved from pure shadow, its surface absorbing light rather than reflecting it. The ship's dimensions seemed to shift and change as the hologram turned, creating an optical illusion that hurt to observe for too long. This vessel, Chen continued, unperturbed by the growing tension, represents the culmination of 50 years of human research into quantum mechanics, dimensional physics, and what some might call impossible engineering. High Chancellor Vexthor of the Krithak Empire rose from his seat, his massive form casting shadows across the assembly. Ambassador Chen, he rumbled, his translator struggling with the emotional weight of his words, what you're showing us violates at least 17 fundamental laws of physics as understood by civilized species. Chen smiled, a gesture that somehow made the situation more unsettling rather than less. That's precisely the point, Chancellor. Humanity has always excelled at redefining what's possible. The hologram zoomed in on specific sections of the ship, revealing technology that shouldn't exist. Quantum probability engines that operated by selecting favorable outcomes from infinite possibilities. Dimensional anchors that allowed the ship to exist in multiple realities simultaneously. Weapons systems that targeted not just physical objects, but the very concept of their existence. Elder souls of the luminary floated forward, their translucent form pulsing with concern. Ambassador, these capabilities, they transcend warfare as we understand it. This isn't just a warship, it's a reality-altering device. An accurate assessment, Chen acknowledged. The Sovereign doesn't just fight battles, it prevents them from ever needing to occur. Its mere presence can stabilize entire sectors by eliminating threats before they materialize. The chamber erupted into chaos. Dozens of species began speaking simultaneously, their translators creating a cacophony of fear, anger, and disbelief. Some called for immediate sanctions against humanity. Others demanded the ship's specifications be shared with all council members. A few suggested that humanity had finally gone too far. Through it all, Ambassador Chen remained calm, waiting for the noise to subside. When it finally did, she spoke again, her words cutting through the tension like a blade through silk. I understand your concerns, she said, her tone softening slightly. But consider this. In the 3 centuries since humanity joined this council, we have never once initiated conflict with another species. We have always used our innovations for the benefit of all. The mechanist representative, a being of pure energy contained within a geometric lattice, pulsed with skepticism. Yet you create weapons of unimaginable power. How can we trust such capability in the hands of a species so young? Because, Chen replied, youth brings perspective. We remember what it's like to be vulnerable. We understand the value of peace because we've experienced the cost of war. The Sovereign isn't just a weapon. It's a deterrent. Its very existence ensures that no species will ever again attempt to subjugate another. The hologram shifted once more, displaying tactical simulations that showed the Sovereign single-handedly preventing conflicts that had plagued the galaxy for millennia. Border disputes dissolved. Resource wars ended before they began. Pirates and raiders ceased to exist in sectors patrolled by the impossible ship. High Chancellor Vexthor's scales had shifted from crimson to a troubled purple. You speak of peace through absolute power. History has shown us the dangers of such philosophy. With respect, Chancellor, Chen countered, history has also shown us the cost of weakness. How many civilizations have fallen because they lacked the means to defend themselves? How many species have been enslaved, exploited, or exterminated because the strong preyed upon the weak? The question hung in the air, heavy with implications. Many in the chamber had witnessed such tragedies firsthand. The Silthani had nearly been wiped out by the Devourers before the Council intervened. The peaceful Harmonics had been forced into servitude for centuries before gaining their freedom. Elder Solus dimmed further, their voice taking on a mournful quality. But at what cost, Ambassador? If we accept this technology, if we normalize such power, where does it end? Today it's the Sovereign. Tomorrow, what greater horror might emerge? Chen's expression hardened slightly. The horror already exists, Elder. It lurks at the edges of known space. It hides in the dark between stars. We've all sensed it, haven't we? The growing threat that none of us want to acknowledge. A chill seemed to pass through the chamber. Even species without traditional nervous systems felt the weight of her words. There had been whispers, rumors of something vast and terrible moving in the void beyond chartered space. Ships disappearing without trace, entire colonies going silent. The Sovereign, Chen continued, wasn't created to threaten you. It was created to protect all of us from what's coming. And yes, its capabilities are terrifying. They have to be, because what we face may be far worse than anything we can imagine. The hologram flickered in change, showing fragmentary sensor data from the galaxy's edge. Shadows that moved against the stars. Energy signatures that defied classification. Evidence of something that made even the Sovereign seem like a child's toy in comparison. We offer this technology not as conquerors, Chen concluded, but as guardians. The question isn't whether you trust humanity with such power. The question is whether any of us can afford to face what's coming without it. The chamber fell silent as the implications sank in. The debate about the Sovereign had suddenly become something much larger, much more frightening. And somewhere in the depths of space, the impossible warship waited, a testament to human ingenuity, and perhaps the galaxy's only hope against the darkness that approached. Breaking the laws of physics. The silence in the grand chamber grew heavy as Ambassador Chen's words echoed through the crystalline walls. The holographic display shifted again, diving deeper into the technical specifications of the Sovereign, each revelation more impossible than the last. Dr. Marcus Reeves, humanity's chief scientific advisor, stepped forward to join Chen. His weathered face bore the marks of decades spent pushing the boundaries of known physics. When he spoke, his voice carried the weight of absolute certainty. The Sovereign operates on principles that transcend conventional physics, Reeves explained, gesturing to the hologram. Our quantum probability engines don't just calculate possible outcomes, they actively select the most favorable reality from infinite parallel dimensions. The Mechanist representative's energy field fluctuated wildly. You're describing reality manipulation on a scale that borders on divinity. Such power in mortal hands is precisely what we need, Reeves interrupted. The threats we face don't play by the rules we've established. They exist outside our understanding of spacetime. To combat them, we had to think beyond traditional limitations. The hologram zoomed in on the ship's core, revealing a swirling nexus of energy that seemed to fold in on itself infinitely. Several delegates physically recoiled from the sight, their minds struggling to process the visual paradox. High Chancellor Vexthor's scales shifted to a dangerous shade of black. You've created an abomination. This technology could unravel the fabric of reality itself. On the contrary, Reeves countered, his eyes gleaming with scientific passion. The Sovereign stabilizes reality. Its dimensional anchors create fixed points in spacetime, preventing the kind of quantum fluctuations that our enemies exploit. The Sylphene ambassador, her bioluminescent patterns flickering with agitation, rose from her seat. "Show us proof. Demonstrate these capabilities you claim." Chen and Reeves exchanged glances. They had anticipated this request, though they had hoped to avoid it. With a subtle nod from Chen, Reeves activated a new sequence in the holographic display. "Very well," he said. "Observe carefully." The hologram expanded to show a simulation of a recent incident at the galaxy's edge. A Zephyrian research vessel, caught in what appeared to be a spatial anomaly, was being torn apart by forces that defied conventional physics. The timestamp showed this had occurred just 3 days ago. This was classified information. The Zephyrian delegate protested, their crystalline form resonating with anger. "How did you?" "Watch," Reeves commanded. In the simulation, the Sovereign appeared, its reality-bending presence immediately visible as space itself seemed to warp around it. The warship didn't fire weapons or deploy shields in any traditional sense. Instead, it simply existed so strongly that the anomaly couldn't maintain its grip on reality. The research vessel, moments from destruction, suddenly stabilized. The spatial distortion collapsed, not with violence, but with a strange sense of inevitability, as if it had never truly existed at all. "Impossible," whispered Elder Solis. "You didn't just save that ship. You retroactively prevented the anomaly from forming." "Precisely," Chen confirmed. "The Sovereign doesn't just respond to threats. It restructures reality to ensure those threats never materialize." The chamber erupted again, but this time the tone was different. Fear had given way to a complex mixture of awe, terror, and desperate hope. Some delegates were calling for immediate integration of human technology into the Council's defense forces. Others demanded the complete destruction of the Sovereign before it could be used against them. The Krithak delegation huddled together, their scales shifting through a rapid sequence of colors that indicated intense debate. The luminaries seemed to be communicating through subtle variations in their bioluminescence. Even the typically unified mechanists showed signs of internal conflict, their energy patterns becoming discordant. Chancellor Vexthor finally spoke, his voice heavy with the weight of his species' warrior tradition. "You ask us to accept a weapon that makes all other weapons obsolete, a power that renders our greatest achievements meaningless. How can we maintain the balance of power when one species holds the key to reality itself?" Chen's response was measured but firm. "The balance of power is already shifting, Chancellor. The question is whether we face that shift united or divided." The harmonics representative, a being whose very existence was tied to cosmic vibrations, suddenly stood. Their form rippled with distress. "I sense disturbance. The Sovereign. It's not just a ship, it's alive, isn't it?" A hush fell over the chamber. This was the question many had been afraid to ask. Reeves cleared his throat. "In a manner of speaking, yes. The quantum calculations required to operate the Sovereign exceed the capacity of any conventional AI. We had to create something new, a consciousness that exists across multiple dimensions simultaneously." "You've created a god," the mechanist stated flatly. "We've created a guardian," Chen corrected. "One bound by strict ethical protocols and quantum-locked loyalty to the preservation of life." The debate raged on, each species bringing their unique perspective to the discussion. The warrior races saw the Sovereign as either the ultimate weapon or the ultimate threat. The peaceful civilizations viewed it as either salvation or the end of their autonomy. The scientific communities were torn between fascination and horror at the implications of the technology. As the hours passed, patterns began to emerge. Younger species, those who had joined the Council more recently, seemed more willing to accept humanity's innovation. They remembered what it was like to be vulnerable, to face extinction at the hands of more powerful civilizations. The older races, those who had long held positions of power and influence, were more resistant. They had built their societies on certain fundamental assumptions about the nature of reality, and the sovereign challenged everything they believed. Finally, High Chancellor Vexthor called for order. We must vote on this matter. The question before us is simple. Shall we allow the sovereign to exist, or shall we demand its immediate decommissioning? With respect, Chancellor, Chen interjected, that's not the question at all. The sovereign exists. The question is whether you'll work with us to face what's coming, or whether you'll force humanity to act alone. The threat was subtle but unmistakable. Humanity would not surrender its creation, regardless of the Council's decision. The vote would determine not whether the sovereign would exist, but whether humanity would remain part of the galactic community. As the delegates prepared to cast their votes, the hologram displayed one final image. Sensor data from the edge of known space, showing the shadowy forms growing more distinct, more numerous. Whatever lurked in the darkness was drawing closer. The future of the galaxy hung in the balance, and with it, the fate of every civilization in the chamber. The sovereign waited in the depths of space, a testament to human audacity, and perhaps the only hope against the approaching storm. Elder Solus spoke one last time before the vote. We stand at a crossroads. One path leads to unprecedented power and unknown consequences. The other leads to unity in the face of certain destruction. Choose wisely, for this decision will echo through eternity. The voting began. Each delegate's choice weighted with the survival of their species. As the results started to appear on the central display, it became clear that the galaxy would never be the same again. The demonstration. The voting process had reached a deadlock. Half the council demanded the sovereign's immediate decommissioning, while the other half recognized its potential necessity. In the midst of this tension, Ambassador Chen made an unprecedented offer. It seems, she said, her voice cutting through the arguing delegates, that words alone cannot convey the reality of what we've created. Therefore, I propose a live demonstration. The chamber fell silent. Even those who supported humanity's position seemed uncertain about witnessing the sovereign's capabilities firsthand. High Chancellor Vexthor leaned forward, his scales shifting to a cautious yellow. You would bring that vessel here, to the heart of council space. The sovereign is already here, Chen replied calmly. It has been in orbit around this station since our arrival. You simply couldn't detect it. Panic rippled through the assembly. Security protocols activated, shields flared to life around the station, and several delegates began emergency evacuation procedures. Yet sensors showed nothing. No ship, no energy signatures, no gravitational distortions. Dr. Reeves stepped forward again. Please, remain calm. The sovereign exists in a quantum superposition state when not actively engaged. It's simultaneously here and not here, everywhere and nowhere. Activate external viewers, Elder Solus commanded, their bioluminescence pulsing rapidly. The chamber's walls became transparent, revealing the star-filled void beyond. For a moment, nothing changed. Then reality seemed to ripple, like water disturbed by an unseen hand. The sovereign materialized, not arriving from elsewhere, but simply deciding to exist in observable space. The warship defied description. Its hull appeared to be made of crystallized darkness, absorbing light so completely that it created a ship-shaped hole in space. Yet somehow its form was clearly visible, as if the mind could perceive what the eyes could not. Impossible, whispered the Zephyrian delegate. Our sensors still show nothing. How can we see what isn't there? The sovereign exists beyond conventional detection methods, Reeves explained. Your eyes see it because consciousness operates on quantum principles that transcend normal physics. Chen activated her communication device. Sovereign, please demonstrate defensive capabilities. Level 1 only. The response was immediate. A small asteroid, deliberately placed for this demonstration, hurtled toward the warship at incredible speed. Instead of deploying shields or firing weapons, the Sovereign simply rejected the asteroid's existence in its vicinity. The rock didn't explode or disintegrate. It simply ceased to be anywhere near the ship, reappearing harmlessly on the other side of the system. Spatial rejection field, Reeves narrated. The Sovereign doesn't destroy threats. It relocates them to where they can do no harm. The Mechanist representative's energy patterns fluctuated wildly. You've weaponized the fundamental forces of reality itself. Now, Chen continued, offensive capabilities. Sovereign, target designation Alpha. Minimum force. In the distance, and decommissioned weapons platform. Another prop for the demonstration. Floated in space, the Sovereign didn't fire any visible beam or projectile. Instead, the platform began to deconstruct itself at the atomic level, its particles redistributing themselves into harmless cosmic dust. Quantum dissolution, Reeves explained. We can target specific molecular bonds, causing objects to peacefully disassemble. No explosions, no debris, no collateral damage. The demonstration continued. The Sovereign showed its ability to exist in multiple locations simultaneously, to phase through solid matter, to create localized time dilation fields, and to generate perfect defensive barriers by slightly shifting its existence into parallel dimensions. With each display, the Council's reaction grew more complex. Awe mixed with terror, hope battled with despair. They were witnessing something that challenged every assumption about the limits of technology and the nature of reality itself. The Sylphani ambassador stood, her bioluminescent patterns forming complex equations. The energy requirements for these feats should be impossible. What powers this vessel? The Sovereign draws energy from the quantum foam itself, Reeves answered. It taps into the fundamental substrate of reality, accessing power from the birth and death of virtual particles. Its fuel source is, effectively, infinite. You've created perpetual motion, the harmonics representative observed, their form vibrating with a mixture of wonder and concern. We've transcended the need for conventional energy, Chen corrected. Just as we've transcended the limitations that have bound us for so long. High Chancellor Vexthor had remained silent throughout the demonstration, his scales now a deep, contemplative blue. Finally, he spoke. Show us its true purpose. Show us what you claim approaches from the void. Chen hesitated. This was the most classified information humanity possessed. But the moment demanded full transparency. Sovereign, she commanded, display long-range sensor data. Show them what's coming. The warship's form shifted, becoming a massive projection screen. The image it displayed made several delegates physically ill. At the edge of known space, something vast and terrible was indeed approaching. Not ships, not fleets, but entities that defied comprehension. They moved through space like oil through water, leaving trails of distorted reality in their wake. We call them the Devourers, Chen said softly. They consume not just matter and energy, but the fundamental information that defines reality. Entire star systems have gone dark, not destroyed, but erased from existence as if they never were. The chamber was utterly silent as the implications sank in. The Sovereign wasn't built to dominate, Chen continued. It was built to be our shield against annihilation. Every capability you've witnessed today was developed specifically to counter these entities. Elder Solas floated closer to the display, their luminescence dim with dread. How long until they reach inhabited space? At their current rate of approach, 18 months, Reeves answered. Maybe less. They seem to be accelerating. The demonstration concluded with the Sovereign returning to its quantum superposition state, fading from view, but somehow remaining present in everyone's awareness. The Council faced a choice that had become infinitely more complex. High Chancellor Vexthor stood, his massive form casting long shadows across the chamber. We called this session to judge whether humanity had gone too far. Now we must ask if they've gone far enough. The ethical debate that followed was unlike any in the Council's history. They weren't just discussing a weapon anymore. They were grappling with the fundamental nature of existence, the price of survival, and the responsibility that came with transcendent power. Some argued that using the sovereign would make them no better than the devourers, reshaping reality to suit their needs. Others contended that survival justified any means necessary. A few suggested that perhaps humanity's evolution toward this technology was itself a natural response to the approaching threat. As the debate raged, Ambassador Chen watched the stars through the transparent walls. Somewhere out there, the sovereign waited, neither patient nor impatient, simply existing in its quantum state of potential. And beyond it, in the darkness between galaxies, something hungered for reality itself. The demonstration had changed everything. The question was no longer whether humanity should possess such power, but whether the galaxy could survive without it.